Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of Movies That Move We. Look who's back.
Hi.
Hey girl, hey. All right, so what are we talking about today?
We're talking about The Wood today,
And this was her first time seeing it.
which is shocking. I can't believe it.
No, because she watches everything.
Literally.
So, and it had been a while since I'd seen it. It'd been years since I'd seen it. So really the only part that I remembered is when the girl was like, why does it look like that? That's the only part I remembered. But let's start at the beginning. So this is a movie about friendship. I don't know if I'd call it a coming of age.
I would.
You would?
It was like a coming of age that led into a story about, because it is like the main premise of the story was explaining their friendship, but like the climax moment was he's about to get married and they have to try to figure out a way to get him back to the church so that he can get married, or back to the house so he can get married.
Right.
So
The movie opens with I got notes because I forget names and stuff like that. With Mike, played by Omar Epps, breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the audience and going, listen, I know it looks crazy around here. Mike is nowhere to be found, but let me explain to you everything that's going on. In a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing. And so that eliminated the need as far as storytelling to try and establish why there was a wedding, who was getting married. He was able to just get right into it and then say, let me explain how all of this began, and go all the way back, do the flashback all the way back to middle school. So Mike was the green one out of the entire group. And she asked me what green meant when I wrote it down in the notes. But he was the new kid in school when they were all in middle school. He had transferred from, or his family
from
had
North Carolina.
moved. You're not saying it right. North Carolina is where.
I was like, wait a second.
That's how he said it.
Yeah, he did say
not
that.
even North
North
Carolina is the way he said it. So he knew nothing of Inglewood, California. He didn't understand the gang culture or any of it. He was a good boy. Okay. And then he meets Slim and Roland.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say they were troublemakers. They were typical teenage boys doing typical teenage boy
Yeah, because
stuff.
like when they were explaining to him, like basically in Inglewood, like what team you're on essentially is like you're either a gang member or you play basketball. So it was like they were the kids that played basketball, talked to girls, things like that. Like they weren't a part of that lifestyle.
And he wasn't a part of any of it, because when they asked what sport he played, he was like, I play baseball.
That's it.
So he had to, they decided to take him on the baby bird and bring him into the fold. But their way of initiating him was telling him to go over and grab the backside of the prettiest girl in school. And they would give him a whole $1 if he did it. You remember back in the day when that was a large sum of money, getting $1? Wait, what were you guys betting when you were in middle school and high school?
I don't think we were betting money per se. I think it was like snacks and stuff like that, or like, I don't know,
inflation.
Yeah, because I feel like the bets that went on in high school that I remember was like, oh, I bet you can't get that girl or whatever. And as far as like what they got in return, I never really knew, but I knew it wasn't money necessarily.
It was clout.
It was, yeah, exactly. It was like clout, or it's like, yeah, I did that. It was just like an ego boost for them, like.
Yeah. And so, it chronicles all of the antics they got in, their little love interest. For Mike, it was
For Mike, it was Alicia.
Yeah, Alicia. that's where his heart has always been, even up to adulthood. I don't think they mentioned somebody he was seeing, but they mentioned the name once at the beginning, I think. They
Oh.
were like, well, what about so and so? And he's like, man, whatever. And then they started saying, well, you had the opportunity to go to New York, which
And you
is
didn't
where she
go.
was going. And at that point in the movie, they were arguing about Roland's decision
To get
to
married.
uproot, not just married, not so much married. They were proud of him for taking that step and getting married, even though it was breaking up the group. But they were kind of like, man, you don't go where your wife's work is. She needs to come to you.
That's true.
Which nowadays, well, back then it was kind of cringe, but nowadays it's like openly we're pointing out how cringe that is.
Yeah, because it's like nowadays it's not. It's kind of like, okay, well, whoever has the better job, it just makes more sense. Back then, it was kind of like it was like men felt emasculated by that. Like, oh well, why is it that I gotta uproot my whole life and move away because she has an opportunity when she should just drop her opportunity? I remember this. I feel like in a lot of those like films at that time, it was like there was always even in I feel like it happened in Martin too.
Martin.
Yeah, like Gina got an
Oh yeah, yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
to like go out of, I think it's out of state or out of country, and they had the same dilemma, like the same argument, like,
Mm-hmm.
well, why do I have to uproot I got my radio show, I got my apartment, I got all this stuff. I shouldn't have to go anywhere. It was a whole big thing.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was just different. Like,
It's the battle of the sexes thing.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, they didn't dwell on that a whole lot. Again, the whole purpose was for Mike and Slim to get Roland down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they found him sloppy drunk at his first love's apartment because he got cold feet. So he figured he'll get his one last chance in and go to his first love's house. And she's like, no, I'm not into you like that anymore. Go get married.
Yeah.
he was messy drunk. They had to go pick him up, get him sobered up, and still get him down the aisle. So, oh gosh, it was who was it?
That did what?
Oh gosh, what is her name? Tamala. I can't think of her last name, but I think
Tanya?
no, Tamala. She well in the movie her name might have been Tanya, but her real name is Tamala, and I think she used to be on um, the Steve Harvey show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she
She was one of the
was.
teachers, I think.
She was in another movie too
She's been in a couple of other movies,
that
and
I it's like
it's
escaping
escaping me
me.
right
Yeah,
now.
but
But yeah, so and again we had Melinda, who was Mike's love interest from middle school up until the wedding. He still got all butterflies in his stomach
mm-hmm.
when he saw her at the wedding. Um, Young Alicia was played by Melinda Williams, and adult Alicia was played by Sanaa Lathan.
Which I didn't like that. I'm not.
I was about to say, if you know how these ladies look, they can't pass for sisters. They can barely pass for cousins.
Yeah, I just wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't impressed by that. But I feel like they kind of matched everybody else up pretty
Pretty
good.
good, pretty
Like,
good. But what I was explaining to Zenny is that back then, all of these names that we're talking about, as far as the actors are concerned, Omar Epps, Sanaa Lathan, uh, Melinda Williams, they were kind of, you had the Brat Pack way back in the day. They were the Black Pack, so you kind of saw them everywhere during the 90s, and a lot of people talked about this back then, the 90s, early 2000s, that Black Hollywood was a small place. So it's like there was just a certain set of people who seemed to be getting all of the roles. And the folks you see here represent represented, I guess, what you might call the black A-list at the time, the young up and coming black actors. And you see most of these faces that you're seeing, they were in The Best Man, Love Jones, what
Love
else?
and Basketball.
And what's the other one with the family we're supposed to do? Soul Food. So it's like all most of these people that you're seeing, they've acted together in
Other movies.
other things between the 90s and heck even now. Um, what else do we have on this? You love the soundtrack.
Yeah, I really loved the soundtrack. The music was really, really good. I loved how like I loved how it was just a mixture of like, their current music, but it was like the oldies that their parents listened to.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved that. And I don't know. Now I'm like I need to go like download that on Apple Music and listen to the whole thing, like because I just
Yeah,
thought the music was so good.
yeah. And I mean, in all of it, you get a look at there are things that, like I always point out, a normalization of relationship amongst black folks. And you just see three black young men, they're not getting into outrageous trouble. They're getting into typical teenage trouble
Hmm.
through most of the movie. Um, and doing things like I said that kids do, and they've established a brotherhood and a long-lasting friendship that takes them. We see them starting at about 12, 13 years old, and then up until the time that Roland is getting married, which has them at about 25, 26.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, those lifelong friendships, those key friendships are so important, and it's nice to see that on film, where it's all positive
Yeah.
amongst the men. Although once they did finally get a hold of Roland and got him back to the house, for some reason everybody wanted to kill Mike. They were like, "Why did it take you guys so long?"
Well, this is something because my friends came over and they watched the movie with me too. And my one friend, this is like a coming of age movie for him. Like it was a major coming of age movie. He watched it every single night before he went to bed. And he even said it helped him like learn how to talk to girls and stuff like that. So it's a situation where it's kind of like I feel like, and he said it. He said they looked at Mike as the one. He was like the pillar of the relationship. It was like he was the one that like basically had all the good sense and kind of like aligned people and like talked sense into people. So it's like I think everybody views him as like the responsible friend or the one that's supposed to wrangle the other two up because the other two were just like wild and crazy and have all these weird
Yeah.
ideas and stuff like that, or these even like kind of like just these masculine ideas that just like they're played out. Like
Yeah,
nobody's doing this stuff anymore.
his
Like
Southern gentleman came
can't
through.
yeah, it comes out.
And I
Yeah.
think it was there with the young man who played young Mike, Sean Nelson, but Omar Epps, when he played it, he showed the more mature. He didn't come across as green anymore, but he was kind of a smooth talker. He knew how to walk into a room and go, wait a minute, everyone, let's just calm down. Why don't we do this? And that was some of his
And he's
personality, but just a little bit in reverse, where it was like, well, I don't know if I should do that.
and
When he
he's
was younger.
honestly like the smartest one too because and I'm not saying that like the other two were dumb, but I'm just saying like he was the smartest one because even the scene where Alicia's brother was taking them to the dance and they got pulled over by the cops. Mike, when they lined him up on the gate, Mike looked back and saw that the gun was still in the car, and he coughed to like get the cop
Distract
to
the
like
officers.
to get them like to not look. And it was kind of like even the gang member in that moment was like, "Yo,
Had
this dude is
respect.
smart.
Yeah.
He's looking out. Like he's a good guy." So I think like that was Mike's whole character was like the good guy, the one that brought everybody together, the one that smacked the sense into everybody. Like get it together. We got to do it this way. So yeah, I think some of the other characters in the movies, like the parents and stuff like that, they looked at him like, dude, like you got to figure this out and get them
Yeah,
both
you
straight.
fix
Like
it.
yeah.
So, all in all, this is an absolute five being the best. I rated the last movie 10 out of 5, but This
10
is
out
right
of 5.
This is right there too. We can go ahead and put this under the classic label because it really talks about a time, the late 80s, early 90s, and this is what life was like. These were the things that we did, we saw, and those are long lasting connections.
And I can even say, like, watching this movie for the first time, I fell in love with the movie, but it did, I'm not gonna lie, it had me in my feelings because it was kind of like, oh, like, the whole high school sweetheart thing. Like, they met in middle school and then they were together throughout high school. Even though they had more so of a friendship, it was just like they still kept in touch, they still loved each other. And then even some of the situations that they were in with the whole sex scene and everything like that.
That was funny.
It's like it brought back flashbacks. It's like,
I don't think I want to know about that.
Well, no, it's just like if you're anybody, like it's just like very relatable. Like everybody remembers their first time, everybody remembers their first experience, and it really like it was nostalgic. It was like, wow, like I remember, yeah, I kind of can relate to that or remember that. Like
I was conflicted about that scene, and here's why. I was like, okay, he showed he has respect for her because remember they all bet on who would get some first. And Mike was the one to get some first, but he said he wasn't going to let the other two know that, as usual, he was the one to get anything first before them. He'd let one of them take the win because he really liked Alicia. And at first I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And I was like, girl, you 40 some odd years old. Ain't nothing about this sweet.
I'm sorry, but he even did that. I noticed it was kind of like even at the dance when he got the number, when they were betting on like how many numbers they could get or whatever. He was very humble, like, I got one number and it was Alicia's, and they were just like, well, if you got her number, then you beat both of us. Like, yeah, then that's it. But he was just like really happy about the fact that he got to get the girl that he wanted. Like, it wasn't about a competition or anything. So I can understand why he didn't even bother bringing that up.
He kind of knew himself, but he was a little out of place.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all we have for today. I think what I might start doing, and I'm not going to post exact dates, only because as new movies hit the theater, we may need to adjust our lineup a little bit. But I'm going to start posting like what we're going to watch for the month so you guys can keep up and can go ahead and watch the next few movies and then come back for the discussion. So that's all we have for today. Don't forget to like, share, tell a friend, invite a friend, follow. Here on YouTube and also on the Facebook group Movies That Move We. And don't forget to follow your moderators. I'm Nikkei. I'm at nikkeiwrites.wordpress.org, and Nikkei is spelled Nike Writes, like, rights. Make sure you follow our founder, Don Mescal, at donmescal.com. I think his page is still up. But also go look for his books on Amazon.com. Awesome writer. I tell you, the man could pull ideas out of the air and would go to town writing. So make sure you get some of his material. And also check out Nicole DeCandis at NicoleDeCandis.com and also on Facebook under NicoleDeCandis.com. She has some new stuff coming up real soon. So until next week, friends, thanks for joining us. See you later.
Bye.